You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 392, Disney Plus Day. Yeah, I think that's right. We are back after kind of a bit of a break, to be honest, and we were really kind of planning this episode to be this big extravaganza on Friday night, and unfortunately, we didn't get really a lot of stuff from Star Wars, to be honest. So nonetheless, we'll probably make this a hour and a half, 2 hour show. We'll drag that trailer out, much to Chef Chris's liking, as much as we can. And speaking of liking,
drawing things out.
Yeah, drawing things out. I don't know where to go with that one.
Albert,
but
it was Star Wars Disney Plus Day.
Okay, Star Wars.
It's right. It's the title of the show notes too, and it's actually at the top left of the screen. It's there every single week.
You know what? It's like if I do the show notes, then I'm okay. But the minute you do them, it's like everything.
Right.
It's like the whole universe is whacked now.
True. Jonesy actually has done something. Everything falls apart. Yeah.
Jonesy does a lot in the background. How are you, man? How are things going with you?
Yeah, well, how are you feeling, man? You've been a little under the weather lately. So.
I was on death's door there for about 5 minutes on Thursday. I just had like a sinus infection. I still kind of got a little stuff in my chest and some drainage here and there. So I do apologize for any weird noises that are coming out.
I thought you were just working on your that booming Antonio Banderas type of thing going on.
I was thinking more of James Earl Jones, but whatever. If you want to play the race card, we can do that.
Oh man.
No, I'm kidding. I'm glad to be back, man. Well, let's do this. We've got a little bit of news. Then we'll get into the breakdown and just kind of what we're planning on doing. We'll definitely cover the Kenobi Sizzle reel or Fizzle reel, however you want to look at that. And then we'll also just kind of talk about some of the other stuff that was announced for Star Wars, and then kind of give our overall thoughts on just other things. So in fact, I got to remember. I want to talk about the movie too that I went and saw Friday night as part of all this. I didn't throw it in the show notes. Totally forgot. That's why we're editing this stuff on the fly. Okay, so the first bit of news. Let's get into the IDW one because this seems significant, but I've got a good source that tells me not to worry too much. But what's going on with IDW here?
Well, so the IDW. So IDW is the other comic publisher that does besides Marvel, and they typically do the younger the younger folks comics. So they do Star Wars Adventures, they do the High Republic Adventures as well. Those are the two primary ones that they do. Mm-hmm. I think they also usually do the free comic book day stuff as well. But those Star Wars Adventures and the High Republic Adventures are coming to their natural scheduled conclusion, I believe, right, with issues 13. And Daniel Jose Older actually confirmed that this was the planned conclusion, but there's been an overarching, I don't know if concern is the right word or just a rumor that this is the end of the IDW run for Star Wars comics.
Yeah.
And I don't know that's a concern necessarily because this stuff does happen from time to time, but IDW has really done a pretty good job with these books and the artwork that they've done and the way that they've stylized these and the quality of the talent that they've had, bring into some of these things with Cavan Scott, of course, and DJO, have been really good. So if it ends up being true, it's a little bit sad, but what is your sources telling you?
That it is coming to an end.
Okay.
I think that much is true and confirmed, if not officially yet. But I heard these stories are going to continue in another format. Now, when I say format, it's unclear as whether that's going to be, like young adult scholastic books or whether they're going to be books or they're going to be something like a cartoon or animation or something. But my gut tells me it is going to be something published. But beyond that, it's really hard to say.
Not in the comic realm then, or
possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if they go to the comics, like who are they going to go to, right? I mean, they've got
Marvel.
They can go to their own.
Right.
That kind of excludes, in my opinion, it probably weeds out, or I don't know, I wouldn't say weeds out, but it leaves out the opportunity for some of these non-famous artists, writers, or not writers, but pencilers and all that, right? Like
Right.
Marvel has their crew, and they bring these guys in and they do their stuff, and they're some of the best in the industry, right?
Right.
With like an IDW or a smaller company, you get some of these up and coming folks or people that are just really, doing some great stuff, but they just haven't broke into Marvel because it's such a, closed up kind of shop. Same thing with like DC. So if they stuck with one of the smaller ones, definitely get that. If they go to their own blood, then it feels like we wouldn't get that opportunity. Not that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
It's just unclear of like who steps in if it's not Marvel.
Mhm.
Like who steps in to do a younger person's type of comic if it stays in the comic, because
Archie comics. No, I'm kidding.
don't do that to me.
I'm kidding. It's not.
Are you? No.
No, I'm
You're
kidding.
really-
I'm joking.
you're
That's
really not.
that was totally not real.
But if you think of some of the other comic, the publishers out there, there we go. I mean, the ones that really stand out are like your Image Comics and and
Mhm.
some of those guys, and none of them really seem like that great of a fit for a younger Star Wars audience, and that's why IDW always fit. And IDW's really produced other great stuff. They're doing all of the Hasbro stuff, right? So Transformers, GI Joe, all of that.
Yeah.
And some of those stories have actually been very, very good, and the artwork tends to be very, very solid as well. So
Yeah, somebody like Dark Horse, that would be kind of cool to see them back
Dark
in the
Horse, it
mix.
would be cool for them to come back, but
Right.
is it really in Dark Horse's wheelhouse? It's just
Yeah.
who's the fit, right? It's just interesting to see where that fit might be and how long this might go. But anyway,
They could spin up their own, smaller imprint label, you know what I mean? And
Lucasfilm Comics,
yeah, or Star
maybe
Wars
they'll
comics.
have a Disney Plus special day for it too,
Yeah, maybe.
where they don't announce anything. Oh, too soon. Okay.
Yeah, it could be like a Star Wars book. Like they've got Star Wars books. Why not Star Wars comics or something? I mean, we don't know.
Sure.
But your point's well taken. Like, it doesn't feel like there's anybody out there outside of like an IDW, and there probably are smaller publishers. I mean, there's tons of
there's
them. You go to
tons,
comic,
yeah.
yeah, and it's just, can they handle the publishing? Right? Do they have the chops to keep it up?
Right.
I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
So the other big news, I guess, that came out this week
mm,
was that Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron has been removed from the release calendar altogether. It has disappeared
yeah.
from it due to scheduling conflicts. And we'll talk a little bit more maybe about some of this as we get through the rest of the show. But how do you feel about that Rogue Squadron has been? I mean, well, let me ask you just opinion. Does this mean it's been canned, or is it really no? We really will come back to it, but right now it's just not on the horizon, because this was the only thing that was actually scheduled. Right, this had a December
Yeah.
2023 release date.
Right. Had a pin on the map.
It was like
Had
the
a logo.
only thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they had a logo. It was the only thing that was in the works. So I don't look. So here, my thoughts. And again, I don't have any inside sources. Just personal opinion and gut feeling kind of thing. I don't read too much into this because there are a couple things that have happened recently, several months ago now, that probably played into this. But first and foremost is DC went ahead and greenlit, like fast tracked Wonder Woman 3.
Right.
So Wonder Woman 3 wasn't supposed to be for, I don't know, 2 more years. They weren't supposed to go into production for like 2 more years or something, right? And then she's got the other movie. What's the other movie? She's working on Cleopatra.
Right.
So the Cleopatra movie's in the works. So she had all 3 of these going on at once, and she had them perfectly lined up. Like if you looked at her schedule, it was slammed. It was like Rogue Squadron, Cleopatra, and then Wonder Woman 3, probably in that order. I may have them mixed up, but the fact is they took Wonder Woman and moved Wonder Woman 3 and moved that to almost like an immediate kind of production thing. So now it's like, okay, so where is she going to get this in, right? If she's contractually obligated to get that movie out, which I think she is, and DC's pushing for that, right? Or Warner Brothers is pushing for that, then, I don't think they did anything conniving here in any way, but it's just, there's no room for it. So I think it does get pushed out. How long is kind of what concerns me the most.
Right.
Because, as things sit on the shelf, the longer they sit on the shelf, the greater the chance sometimes this stuff just kind of falls away and we don't hear about it again.
Yeah.
And that would be my biggest concern, is that we're not going to get this Rogue Squadron, because when she came out and they did the announcement last year and we had that little clip of her talking about, was her grandfather or somebody in World War II and how passionate she was about telling this, she's always wanted to tell this, fighter pilot kind of story, and she never had the opportunity. She couldn't find a good fit for it. And suddenly they throw Star Wars in her lap, and now she's got her love. She's merging the love of Star Wars and X-wings or whatever, spaceships, with that history that she had of this story that she wanted to tell. When you watch all that, it's so like moving, and you can tell like she really is passionate about doing this. So I don't think it was by lack of interest on her part by any means. I don't think Marvel was pushing her out. I mean, she seems like a really good fit there. So I
Right.
think it's just the fact that she ran out of time. Like there's again that Wonder Woman 3 kind of squeezed it out, at least for now. I just worry that it's gonna get squeezed out too, permanently if we go too far out there, though. What do
Yeah.
you think?
No, I have the more of the concerning aspect of it of, is it just going to be pushed way too far out to where it becomes less relevant? Other things have taken over from
Yeah,
it. And what comes to mind is how Black Widow went, right? So Black Widow had all of these delays, whether it was due to COVID or the in theater versus Disney Plus decision, all of that. But you had a cutscene in there, and I know this is a very, very, very small thing, but there was a cutscene in there where they start introducing what will eventually become Madam Hydra, and it was supposed to be launched before Falcon and Winter Soldier came out, but it was out of order, so it really lost its impact
yeah.
when Black Widow came out, and you finally see that scene, you're like, "It doesn't really make any sense now." It's
Mm-hmm.
just completely out of order. Now, they have a lot of time to adjust and not have that happen, but that's the thing that sticks in my head of what else is going to happen or take place that could have been seeded and rooted in Rogue Squadron that now has to take place somewhere else or just gets dropped altogether.
Yeah.
And if it was truly standalone, then you don't have to really worry about too much. But I have a feeling we do have a little bit more connected tissue these days. And so are we going to miss something? So that's my only concern about it. It's disappointing because it was literally the only movie announcement that we had with a date. And so now it's very much a, okay, when are we going to get a movie? I mean,
Yeah. Right.
2025, 2026 now? It's
Well,
kind of,
maybe. Or so. Well, I got a question for you. So, do they lose? So they've got it. They've got an opportunity to put out a movie in 2023, and this would align with these rumors about an old Republic movie coming out, or something along that. Would you? I mean, that for me, because there's a history there, right? There's a history of them working on a SWOTOR, KOTOR, Tor ish movie, Old Republic movie for
right.
for the better part of like I want to say
A
so.
decade.
Okay, well, yes, in a deck, yeah, sure, it's always been in the works, right? But what was it in uh at Star Wars Celebration, right? 2019. I forget who it was that asked her that question about, hey, what about the Old Republic? And she said it's something we've been talking about, and yes, we've got something in the works, and blah blah blah. So I mean, there was legs on this back in 2019. I don't know how far it went into pre-production, writing, all that stuff. But if they had a green light something, we at least know that was in the works. What else could be out there? You know what I mean? They probably have other projects that are just been floating around or other ideas. I think it's pretty safe to say a lot of what we're seeing now with Book of Boba Fett and in the comics with Crimson Dawn, that's the stuff that's getting regurgitated or repurposed from
Right.
1313 and what was the other thing? The Boba Fett, I think the movie. Remember the movie that we were talking about not too long ago?
Right.
Yeah. So all that seems like it's getting played out. So I don't think there's going to be anything around that. But I mean, if there was the Old Republic script out there, or at least they had somebody working on pre-production stuff, I don't know. It seems like there'd be enough time to do something by 2023 at this point. Maybe not.
That's a really quick production schedule. I
It
mean,
is. It
for something
is.
that's not been announced.
It would have to have already been like, yeah, and you're right. No, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they can still do it. Like if they started cold right now, there's no way, in my opinion, unless
Right.
they slam tons and tons of money at it, right? But if they had something that was at least along the way, and they knock off 6 months of, they've already knocked out like 6 months of that pre-production stuff already, and it's just kind of sat there, or it's been worked on, then that would make sense. But other than that, I don't see them losing that 20. Yeah, that seems forever though. Like we're never going to get a movie that comes out if they don't hit this 2023 mark till
Yeah.
24, 25, 26.
Right. I mean, you still have the animated route you could go, right? I mean, animation is still an option. We see what they're doing. And we'll talk a lot of it about this throughout the show tonight, but with what we saw with Marvel was very much what we saw with Star Wars last year or in year and a half before.
Yeah.
So, you have some, well, again, we'll talk about it, but I don't know. I hope that we get something that gets announced that fills some of that gap, or we at least have enough content that it really feels like we are and that we're working in. 2023 could still be a very big Star Wars year on Disney Plus without a movie. So I think there's still a lot of opportunity for that still to happen, and not to have a huge, concern, but to have such a vacancy in the theaters for. I mean, so if it's 2025, let's just say 2025, we get a movie in a theater. How many years is that since we've had a film in the theater?
What was
I
it?
know you're
So
gonna take your shoes off to count.
yeah, was it
Yeah.
6 years? It'd be 6 years, wouldn't it?
A
Because
while.
2019 is when we got the Rise of Skywalker.
2018,
Really?
19? No, you're right. Yeah,
19,
2019.
because we were
That's
at
right. Yeah,
Celebration when the show.
yeah, it was after Celebration. That's right.
So 2019. So yeah, by 2025, which I think would be a more realistic, like that seems like a non-rushed. We've got something we're working on and proud of it kind of thing. Yeah, it'd be
Right.
6 years since we've
But
seen
just
a
think,
movie.
we'll have had like 7 Zack Snyder cuts of Justice League by then. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah,
But
can't wait for that.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, big news. Not sure what the ramifications quite look like yet, but it was disappointing, I think, nonetheless. Of all the things we were hoping to get this past week, and then we had something clearly kind of taken away from us. It just add a little salt in the wound there for us.
Briss asked a question. Y'all think it'd get pushed to a Disney Plus series?
I think
don't know if
entirely
it-
possible. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know that it changes anything though.
Yeah, I mean it's well he does, like, he makes a good point here. The schedule, he says the schedule for filming the shows just seems like it would be more flexible. That's probably true. You do have more flexibility because you're not filming end to end. It's actually a longer schedule sometimes because of the number of shows you're doing, but
Yeah.
there is some more flexibility in working around some of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'd be fine with either one. There's a part of me that says I'd love to see a movie because I want to go see Star Wars in the theater. That's just part of what Star Wars has always been for me personally.
Right.
But at the same time, there is a lot to be said about TV series on Disney Plus. Given we've already had 2 seasons of Mandalorian, we're going into Book of Boba Fett. Looks pretty good. We got Kenobi. Those are longer than 2 hours, and I mean, call me greedy, but that just seems like it's more Star Wars for me, and that's fine. I'd be okay with that, absolutely. And for either one of the series, whether it's Rogue Squadron or something of the Old Republic of some sort, whatever it is, I'd be down.
So that's a good segue. So we'll kind of get out of that. So you did have a unique opportunity just in the last day or so to see Star Wars in the theater. What exactly what'd you go see, and kind of how did all that come about?
Yeah, so they did this thing where they I think it was AMC. I don't think I knew it was AMC Theaters who had put out this. They were kind of doing their own little promo where they were going to show a Star Wars movie Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend. As part of this whole Star Wars Disney Plus Day celebration thing. So the funny thing was I could not find anywhere, and shame on me if I just missed it, but I couldn't find anywhere that said, here's the movie that you can see. It was just a Star Wars movie. That was all it was. So it made it sound like it was going to be a big surprise, and which it was. And the tickets were $5. So there was no cost. I mean, it was like nominal, right? $5 to go
Like
see
a 9 p.m. show, right?
No, it was pretty much, they did them like all day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it wasn't like, back-to-back showings, but there were some midday showings and mostly night showings. But when I went, I just happened to, I was flipping through something I saw, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. I went on to the AMC website, looked at the theater that was closest to me. There was literally one ticket left, and it was like smack dab in the middle. I'm like, bam, I'm going. So I bought the ticket at like 7 p.m., jumped in the shower, was out of the house by like 8:15, and got there about 8:45. And I did a little, I filmed it and all this stuff, did some social media stuff that I did. But when I walked in the theater, like everybody, it was like packed. I mean, it was completely packed. Everybody was a hardcore Star Wars fan. There was a lot of cheering and yelling and stuff like that, which was awesome. I mean, those are the best environments.
That's why you go to the theater, right?
Exactly. But yeah, it turned out to be Rogue One. So,
that's neat.
Which was a really great movie, right? I mean, you can't complain. Now, what I don't know, a couple things. If you left the movie, most of the AMC theaters had these Book of Boba Fett posters. The theater that I went to apparently said they didn't get them in, so he told me to check back this week. So I'm going to literally call these guys every day to find out if they've gotten their Book of Boba Fett posters.
If you don't know this about Albert Padilla, he is a persistent little cuss.
I will. Yeah. I will call. And I already spoke to the manager. She knows who I am. So I'm going to hopefully get that poster. If not, it's no big deal. But it's just, standard size kind of movie poster. Not a full size movie poster, but one of those little condensed ones. So you got that for exiting the theater. And And where was I going with this story? Oh, and so the other thing I don't know is I don't know if they were changing the movie every day. The only thing that there were a couple people that told me they saw Rogue One again this weekend. So I think it was just Rogue One, which if you think about it, if they're promoting Book of Boba Fett, or I'm sorry, Kenobi, I should say, something like Rogue One is kind of cool. Or they're promoting Andor, right? If that was really kind of the tie-in, because I thought we were going to get some Andor, we never got it, but that would have been a really nice way to kind of tie it in, because it did get me excited to see Andor more than anything, having seen, that cast and that storyline, all that was going on. So it was a really good experience, to be honest. I had a great time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right, so we're good. We got a couple of reviews in, but before we do, we will have a Patreon show that we're recording later. We are going to do our thoughts around the Under the Helmet Legacy of Boba Fett featurette that did come out for really, I guess, the night before Star Wars Disney Plus Day extravaganza ish. So yeah, we'll go do that with the Patreon episode, which will be done here the next day or so. So please tune in for that, or sign up for Patreon over at patreon.com/thecantinacast. And we'd love for you to hear our thoughts on that one. It was a pretty neat little 20-minute featurette. So
Yeah.
a couple of things in there I did not actually know. I was happy there was something that was a part of it besides just seeing how old George is looking. But
Oh yeah, dude, he's starting to lose that weight in his face.
yeah,
He's starting to look frail a little bit. I mean, how old is he? 80 something?
old. Yeah.
All right. Somebody
Older
look
than
that
me.
up.
Yeah. Okay, but we got a couple of cool reviews. One we got actually sent to me on Discord from Doc, and I'm trying to pull it up here. So Doc just sent me a quick message saying that, man, you guys are awesome. Thank you for the work and the effort you put into the program. It makes my long hauls through Texas to the different rig pads so much the better. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Old guy who loves Star Wars. So we certainly appreciate Doc. We understand what those long treks through the state of Texas look like, especially if
Yeah.
you are going east to west, west to east. It never ends.
And we know what it feels like to be old too. So
We do.
there's always that
and
too.
to like Star Wars. We're like brothers all of a sudden.
Let's not get carried away. Okay.
Right.
And
then we got a new iTunes Apple Podcast review.
Yeah, it's from Obius. I think I said that right. It's called "Good to Show" for Star Wars news. I think it's supposed to say "Good Show." Oh, go to
There you go.
go to show for Star Wars news and reviews. I listen to many shows while I travel, and when I run out of shows by these guys, I kind of get sad. Just a quality show. Albert and Jonesy do a good show in a fun, brotherly kind of way with fact and opinion in equal form. Comedy and laughs abound, and their take on my favorite universe. It is one I look forward to every time I'm on a plane or doing a long drive. I feel a part of the show, and they feel like lifelong friends. Expertly produced and delivered each week. Highly recommended. So, wow, thank you. It was very nice.
Yeah, it was very kind. What more than we deserve, but we certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely more than we deserve. So,
all right, my friend.
We keep
my brotherly comedian aspect of relationships here.
All right, well, let's get in. Yeah, we're going to talk about Star Wars Disney Plus Day. And so I don't want to we are going to be critical. If we were just before we even get into this whole disclaimer thing, I mean, I'm going to say if I had not seen the leak the day before, I probably would have a different opinion a little bit. I would have a little bit of different opinion on Star Wars Disney Plus Day.
Right. It was really just Disney Plus Day.
Okay, fine. Whatever. You told me to say Star Wars Disney Plus.
That's the name of our episode. Oh,
okay, fine. Man. Disney Plus Day. I probably would have had a different take on the Star Wars content, but either way, what I was disappointed. I'm not, fire and brimstone, burn it all to hell kind of. I'm not there. Trust me, right. I'm not by any means. I just wish there would have been a little bit more. I mean, because we're like, how many days away are we from Book of Boba Fett, right?
Right.
Got nothing there. And I get we got just a trailer not that long ago. I'm not being greedy, but really, I mean, that trailer, like we talked about when we spent an hour and a half talking about it, there really wasn't a whole lot there. It was probably the first 5-10 minutes of the first episode at most.
Right.
So we didn't really get a whole lot there. And I would have thought, okay, you're celebrating Disney Plus Day, right? You're celebrating Disney Plus. And what better to celebrate Disney Plus by showing you, Star Wars fans, the content that's coming to Disney Plus, especially something like Kenobi that has wrapped up filming months ago, right? It's been over for a very, very long time. We got a sizzle reel. which was the same sizzle reel they showed the investors back in 2020. I posted that on social media. What was it?
December 2020.
December 20th. Yeah. Or December of 2020. Right. So almost a full year later, we're getting something that people have already seen. Now, don't get me wrong.
Now, that happened
cool.
Right. Because that happened with Celebration too. So we know it's a thing.
Yeah.
But still, to have it the exact same thing and that was a bit disappointing.
So yeah, and then on top of that, I mean, we got the behind the helmet, which was cool. I mean, 22 minutes worth. We're gonna give some initial thoughts on that here in just a little bit, but other than that, I mean, it was I got to see Rogue One. The Rogue One was like the highlight of this
right,
Disney Plus day for me.
No,
it didn't. It didn't have anything to do with Disney Plus. Although I say that, and let's just pull the Band-Aid off on this one too. There were a lot of people out there and reputable people, guys. I'm not talking about, the Mike Zeros and all these people out there that are waxing all this crazy talk that all day, every day. But you had some very, very reputable people out there that are in the inside, that have a good track record, that have, really good sources that kind of confirm some things. And some of the things that were being touted were something related to Andor, something related to Kenobi, more than this is a reel, right? Not this. This is a trailer was what everybody was touting. Right. And beyond that, I mean, those two were like the big ones, right? I mean, there was other things that we probably weren't going to get a season 3 Mandalorian. We weren't going to get, anything else really, but at least those two were on good word that they were going to be showing something. And if you think about this movie, again, Rogue One, and going to see that feels like that would be a really good tie to kind of tie into some kind of Andor sizzle reel which you already had, right? We already had the sizzle reel for that one, but sometimes high level trailer or teaser trailer of some sort that would have made more sense. But beyond that, it was disappointing from a Star Wars perspective because we just didn't get a lot. And I know we have a lot of Star Wars coming. We've already said 2022 is going to be a huge, huge year for Star Wars, given the amount of content that's allegedly going to come out. We'll see.
We think it will be.
Yeah. But it just felt like, I really wanted to see more as I was looking forward to this day and there was a lot of good stuff. Don't get me wrong. There was tons of stuff from Marvel. That was all exciting. I mean, that was really great stuff. They had a lot of stuff for the Disney, Pixar had stuff out there. They've got a TV series coming out, which I'm super stoked about. But overall, I guess it was really great, but it just was kind of lacking. And unfortunately, it's a little disappointing when it came to the Star Wars news for me. But give me your thoughts.
Well, yeah. So let's go and do the disclaimer real quick. So this is probably going to be a little bit more critical than we usually are about Star Wars. And we hope that everyone kind of understands that. But we're all coming from a place of love, excitement, and kind of a speculatory lens about what it means or what it might mean and what it might not mean. We're not just jumping on the bash train. We're not doing the sensationalism side, like you were saying, with the Zero type of folks in the world. But so we're trying to do this in a very respectful way. But we hope you all understand that our disappointment is palpable, right? And whether or not that's our own fault or not, we're probably going to discuss that throughout the show. But yeah, so I really had to think about like were my expectations just too high going into this thing, and really no, I don't think my expectations were too high. If we think about what we thought we were going to get, we thought we would get something about Book of Boba, right? It just makes sense. You're only 6 weeks away.
Mm-hmm.
You would get a little something to just stoke the fire a little bit more. You don't have to do a whole lot. So didn't have to be a whole lot. The featurette thing, it felt like a Blu-ray extra, to be honest with you, rather than kind of that get you hyped for the show. But I would have expected kind of more, a little more behind the scenes or something like that just felt more unique, more new things to come out. We really did think we were going to get something with Kenobi. I really, really wanted an actual sizzle reel of sorts for Kenobi, like something that actually showed something that wasn't from a year ago and from an interview that was likely from a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
With Ewan and Deborah Chow and all of that. Because that had all been out there for a very, very long time. But just something that said, here's what's been going on with the production. We got a few of the concept art, which I thought was really cool. Why couldn't we get more? There's got to be more than 3 or 4 images, right? Mm. And so why didn't we get some more of that? And I think the one that really stung, though, was we really, really thought we were going to get something for Andor, because Andor has been radio silent.
Yeah.
Since since we got the original, sizzle for that one. It has just been completely radio silent unless you're following some of the set photos. We know stuff is going on with Andor because there's plenty of photography out there and photos that you can find online of
Yeah.
the sets and what they're doing, and you can see things have been going on. And I think they've wrapped
They
filming. I
wrapped
believe.
up. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like a while back. So there's stuff out there that they could have talked about and released. So it's just very odd that it was just wasn't there, and but when you just think about where your expectations too high, I think when our expectations were really just around 3 pieces of content, and then you get a little bit jealous, right, of everything else that came out for all of the other, for the all the other, IPs that Disney has. It just felt like, man, something went wrong. Like, you start to wonder, your brain starts to wonder, did something go wrong? Did they pull a lot of stuff at the very end? Is this a stunt to drive some of the stuff into another month, or is Book of Boba gonna launch a lot of these things, or what? We knew we weren't
Yeah.
gonna really get much for season 3 of Mandalorian because that's a year away and they haven't done anything. They had to get Book of Boba filmed before they could start the next season of Mandalorian. So there were some things that we were already conditioning ourselves to know we weren't gonna get, and quite honestly, I'm okay with not getting any Mandalorian for a while. We're pretty good with Mandalorian right now,
Hmm.
pretty epic conclusion. So, but, you know
So here, when we do this kind of analysis, I think the question that we want to go to immediately is ask the question of why, right?
Yeah.
Why would we? What's a good reason for them not to show this content when this is supposed to be the day that you would expect them to do that for those, at least those 2 series, right? Andor and Kenobi. So could they be saving this for celebrations in May? Is that right?
Yeah.
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 So we're 5 months away. Now that seems like, I mean, you could do a lot in 5 months with production work, but that seems kind of far. I mean, do they want it? Are they worried that excuse me, were they going to steal their own thunder? Do they want to have a big reveal come celebration for either this or Andor? I mean, that's all possible. I mean, Star Wars is unique in that they have an entire celebration, right? An entire convention every several years
Right.
to do this stuff. And so if they don't show that, then what would they show? Well, I don't know if they're going to be far along enough to show, Mandalorian season 3 or Ahsoka or any of these other series. I just don't know where they are in production wise and where they're going to be come May. So maybe they felt like, hey, some of those other shows may or not be ready. We're not going to really have a lot of content to actually show. And so we probably should save the Andor trailer and we should save the Kenobi trailer for, April or May so that we have some really big guns to stick out there for Star Wars fans, right? Again, I'm not defending their decision in any way. I'm just trying
Oh,
to
sure.
rationalize why they wouldn't show this on the day that they're supposed to be showcasing us as people that have paid for 2, 3, 5 years in advance what we have to look forward to. It's coming out. We know it's coming out. We're not, we're going to watch it. I mean, that's not the point. But I don't know. Just seems it felt flat a little bit, a lot.
Yeah, and when they do a little reel at the end, right, where they flash all the logos, and right at the start of it, they flash Bad Batch season 2, they
Mm-hmm.
flash, like, all the things they
Andor.
didn't talk about. Yeah, Andor right there, so they exist, and again, we didn't expect anything for Bad Batch season 2 either because we just got out of it, and they're still developing, and I'm sure probably writing it and, very early in production on that one, if at all yet. But, man, it just really did feel it felt like a letdown, and what was interesting, though, is as I was watching the Marvel announcement, I felt like Star Wars last time, where because if you look at all of the things that they announced for Marvel,
Yeah.
I think literally only one thing had a date to it. One of the thing they announced had a date to it. All of them were coming soon, coming soon,
Mm-hmm.
coming soon, which is exactly what they did with Star Wars when they announced all of the stuff last time. And it's just really you get gun shy because of where we've been, and we know that been a bit of a calamity with the way that the Star Wars or with how Lucasfilm has kind of been operating. We know we had some fumbles with with directors and making announcements too soon and too quickly and
Yeah.
commitments, and a lot of these things have fallen through or they're just on permanent hiatus. They seem and so it's just it was interesting. We saw it with Marvel as well. And we know that Marvel had their first kind of stumble with Eternals, at least from a box office perspective, I guess. And it just it's just interesting watching the parallels a little bit between those two.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole Marvel thing. I mean, it's, what are the odds they can keep that run going without having a movie that's not going to do amazingly well in box office. I mean, it's bound to happen at some point. Unfortunately,
Oh,
it's just the
sure.
way it goes. So,
Actually, my favorite part of Disney Plus Day was Shang-Chi came out on Disney Plus,
oh
and
yeah,
I hadn't seen it yet, and that movie is freaking cool.
I told you, man, it was great. I really loved it when I
Yeah.
went to see it in the theater. And what's even cooler about that, and I'm hoping they do this for the Star Wars movies, is they've got that. What is it called? IMAX.
Oh yeah,
Something
IMAX enhanced or something like
enhanced.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Did you see that? They took it and they give you about it's almost the entire screen now. So you
Yeah.
don't get the the little. I mean, it's always cool to see it widescreen, but you get the widescreen, but then they stretch it out even further on top and bottom for that IMAX format. It was
I have a
pretty
hard
dang
time.
cool.
I have a hard time watching IMAX, just to be honest with you, because it's too much to take in all at once.
Yeah, yeah.
My brain and my eyes can only focus in on one small area,
But
and I
it's and
feel.
I'm with you. I'm with you. When I go IMAX, I like IMAX movies because it is an experience, right? Just
Oh yeah,
you can't really
yeah,
even see everything going on, but you don't really care because it's just so dang cool. But what I liked about this was because you're sitting at home, right, and the TV's hopefully farther away, you do get to see it all. So you get
yeah.
more. You get to see what's going on top and bottom a lot more, and you don't have to worry about doing this kind of thing because you don't get motion
Right.
sickness after a while. But
Yeah, it's the difference between a 4K resolution. It's not the compaction of the pixels. It's more the actual size of the frame that you can get
yeah,
in,
right, right.
and you still have all of that quality inside of it, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, it was a pretty cool announcement though, and
Yeah,
that was
I was
exciting to
really
see.
impressed. They had about what 6, 7 movies out of the gate
Yeah,
that they've converted over to IMAX enhanced. No Star Wars titles, but I'd love to see because I didn't get to see some of the I didn't get to see Rise of Skywalker in IMAX. I saw The Last Jedi in IMAX.
I saw Attack of the
And
Clones in IMAX actually.
did you?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'd like to see just kind of the differences there. I mean, they're probably going to be very subtle, but
yeah,
nonetheless, that would be great to see. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope they really push that forward with a lot of these other movies as well. So.
right.
But yeah, so I think that's probably good enough. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse here.
Sure.
It is what it
Hey,
is, and we've got
let me ask you another question,
yeah.
because you've got boys and they like Fortnite. Are we considering the Boba Fett announcement in Fortnite as Disney Plus news? Was that
Uh,
were
yeah.
we so light that a Fortnite announcement got lumped in with Disney Plus Day in order to help compensate?
No, I don't think that was the intent, but we were joking about that. But no, I don't think that was the intent. That's going to be a big deal. And if anybody that follows Fortnite or has kids that play Fortnite knows that they do this every month. There's some new big release of
Right.
a character, an IP. The Mandalorian's been already in there. He's been in there for well over a year, I think now.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be kind of cool to see. I don't know if Fennec Shan's in there as well. Somebody probably knows that. Man, I don't. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. I mean, those IPs are always neat to have. We had, of course, the big announcement. What was it? The Rise of Skywalker. They did the Emperor's talking speech thing. Remember that from the Rise of Skywalker? Where
For
yeah,
what? For
so in
Fortnite?
Fortnite, yes.
Oh,
So
I don't play Fortnite, so I don't
I know,
know.
but that's how you found out the Emperor was alive. Like
Oh, okay.
he came out and did this
Oh,
speech. You remember that now?
yeah.
Yeah, and then it's in the crawl. They talk about it, but you're like, what are you talking about? Like, right? How do people know this stuff? Well, you have to play Fortnite to understand. So there's been a relationship there. So that was kind of a okay, cool. We probably should have seen this coming, but it was it. I'm gonna count it as Disney Plus Day content because they announced it on Friday. But yeah, I don't
Wow.
know. We'll see. It's fun.
Yeah. So of all the things in Disney Plus Day for Star Wars, really that was about it. We got the Boba Fett featurette. We did get the Sizzle reel for Kenobi, and then we by extension got a Boba Fett on Fortnite.
mhm.
That was about it.
That was about it. Yeah, no, nothing around Rogue Squadron other than it was pulled off the calendar.
Right.
No Visions 2, no Ahsoka. I'm trying to think what else would even be.
Yeah, there were a few. So I kind of made a list here of the things that we thought we might get, and also the projects I was going to ask you if we really expected to see. I think you and I are probably agreeing that we didn't expect to see a whole lot. So maybe we'll start with that list. Did you expect to see anything for Rangers of the New Republic,
No.
Bad Batch season 2?
No, I think it's still too early. Like
Right.
they just, I mean, we just came off that thing just 3-4 months ago, so they're probably just now getting to the point where they're running back into the studios and doing stuff. So
Right.
too early.
Mando season 3?
No.
No. Ahsoka?
No.
Maybe even like an interview, nothing like that.
Well, so okay, so hold that thought because I would say this: even though we didn't get trailers or sizzle reels for a lot of this stuff. If we're celebrating what's coming to Disney Plus, it would have been at least cool to get something like, a Dave Filoni talking about how production's coming, even if it's like a rehash of who Ahsoka is. You know what I mean? Just something to get people excited about it and talking about it. It didn't have to be footage, right? A sizzle reel like we got for like this for Kenobi that didn't really show anything other than concept art. That even if it wasn't concept art, even if it was just them talking about what's coming or waxing how they felt about these characters and what we can expect, and without giving us details. I mean, that would have been something, right? I'd have been fine with that, but
So
we didn't
let's
even get that.
I want to put a pin in that one because I'm going to come right back to that once we finish this short list here, because I want to come back and talk
All right.
to something you're kind of beating around the bush there on. Okay, Lando. Were we expecting to hear anything about the Lando series or whatever they're
Yeah,
developing?
is that even happening? No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's been
No,
quiet.
I say no.
And then the one that I was holding out hope for was the Acolyte. Did you have any hopes or expectations the Acolyte would have any kind of information?
And the only reason I would say no, although I'm with you, I would have loved to have
Supposedly we're
something.
getting something with Acolyte like next year from like an information type of standpoint. We'll have more clarity on it, but
I think we'll get something at Celebration for the Acolyte.
I think so too. Yeah.
Because by that time, Phase 1 will have wrapped up for the High Republic, right? So we'll be going in. They'll be touting Phase 2 and be looking at all of that. But I think I don't know, and this is again purely speculation on my part, but it does feel like they are trying to make sure that they're aligned, right? They don't want the High Republic to kind of end too soon, too late, and then make sure that that's not aligned with the Acolyte schedule too. So I think there is some kind of precedence that needs to be set first with, not precedence, prerequisite that needs to be set with the High Republic before they can land on an exact like timing, like a scheduled date and time frame for the Acolyte. That's purely, again, pure speculation on my part, but and I think if they have to push that out, right? Like here's another example. Like if the High Republic continues to do well, and it's not at the point where I would say they're going to run off and make an animated series right now, or they're going to do a television series, but if it continues to grow in popularity and they finally decide to take the chance and make a transition into something like animation,
Yeah.
then you got to wonder that there may be content that they want to add on top of that. So it may not just be Phase 3 and they're done, right? I think it was Michael Singlain who also said there's 3 phases right now, but he left it kind of open. Like maybe there is going to be a 4th phase, or maybe they do something in between the phases, right? They don't want to kind of paint themselves in a corner in that way. So the Acolyte's got to come out when it makes sense. And I think a lot of that, the prerequisite of when it makes sense is how well the High Republic does and when they wrap up and when they kind of feel like we're done telling the stories we need to tell so that we can set the Acolyte off on a good foot. But that's my thoughts.
Okay. And then one other one, because we've kind of already talked about what we didn't get from Disney Plus, but one other thing that has had some hype around it lately that I know is right in your wheelhouse is the Old Republic. Were you holding out hope that there was something from the Old Republic that was going to be announced or hinted at or anything like that?
For Disney Plus Day, no. But I'm still kind of like we mentioned earlier. I'm still optimistic that we're going to get a High Republic movie of some sort. I don't think it's going to be the it's not going to be the High Republic. No, sorry, the Old Republic. Right? Yeah. With some caveats and reservations around that. Like the Old Republic is something that if you're a hardcore Star Wars, if you're listening to this podcast, you're very familiar with it, right? You may not know all the ins and outs, but you know more or less what's happening, or when it takes place, and you've seen images and stuff like that. But to the general populace, you gotta like selling the Old Republic to me it could be a little challenging. And it feels like whatever they decide to do, if they do decide to go to do a movie for the Old Republic, they're going to focus on Bane, right? Or somebody that's already been discussed, so they can go, oh, look, if you remember, we did talk about this in the Clone Wars series, so it's not that far out there. I don't think they're going to go to they could go with like a Satele Shan, or they could do that stuff, but that feels like they'd be pandering to the hardcore audience that's already going to see this movie anyway. So. The other thing I think it does I really hope that they do the movie. Like I said, because it's been in production in phases, and I'd say production, they've done some work on it. How about that? For over the last 5-10 years, it's a possibility that they could have something in the works. I would love to see that movie. I don't think that I wasn't expecting them to announce anything on Disney Plus Day. Do they announce something at Celebration? That feels like a more, if they're going to announce it, if there is a movie coming in 2023, it's going to be at Celebration that they make any kind of announcement, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think what may have got some people excited about it was because just a week before, I think it was just a week, not quite, they released all of the cinematics in 4K
Yeah,
for the Old Republic, which
look awesome.
If you haven't gone to watch them again, which they're worth watching anyway, wow, they are absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning. And not to mention it's just compelling storytelling and visual, just the cinematics are just man, they just your jaw's on the floor the entire time. Anyway, I don't care if this was 10 years ago or today, it's still fantastic. But I think it was that, we just got some of that information. So it seemed like it was a little bit of hype going into it and completely unrelated, possibly. And it is easy to forget that we have Celebration coming here in about 6 months because it feels like it's forever since we've had one, because it has been forever since we've had one.
Yeah.
And really but do you really think that's exactly what it is? We didn't get a whole lot this weekend because they want to save things, because maybe we don't have as much stuff coming as we originally maybe hoped or would normally have from a Celebration.
I think that would be the only logical reason for me to assume. I mean, outside of that, then you're getting into this whole, okay, then Disney's, falling apart and all that stuff, which I don't buy into, right? There are probably
Or
things that
Lucasfilm, I guess.
or
specifically.
Lucasfilm, sorry, not Disney. Yeah, Lucasfilm's falling apart. And I don't think that's the case. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy's not going anywhere. They've had they've had setbacks. I mean, she's the one that came out and said, okay, we released Solo. That didn't do like we expected. So we're pulling back, this 2 movies a year thing. We're not going to do so many movies every, like, what was it? 1 movie every year or whatever it was. They pulled all that back. Right. So in some ways they are kind of trying to readjust and kind of set a different course here a little bit. So at some point we're going to feel that, right? On top of that, you had COVID, you've got production issues there, stuff that's been, in various states and all that. And that's just now getting ramped up again. So I don't know. Are we just feeling some of that? And I'm not an apologist. I'm not making excuses again. I'm just trying to rationalize why they would do something like this. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And if that all is true, or if any of that is true, then that means when you get to Celebration, how much content are you really going to have, right? You want to put on a good show. You want to make sure you've got all kinds of stuff to show. So maybe they do reserve some of that stuff for that. Plus, what was it? Celebration got moved, right? I mean, it was supposed to be, was it October 2022 or 20?
Yeah,
what was it?
August. I think it was August of next year. Yeah.
Yeah. So they moved it up to April.
Yeah.
I forget what the reason. May. Sorry, I keep saying April.
I still think it was probably scheduling conflicts, but that's just me.
Yeah. So now, okay. So yeah. So I mean, maybe that played into it as well. Now you've got, had it been in August still, then I would think at Disney Plus Day we would have seen Kenobi, we would have seen Andor, maybe we would have seen some of the other ones. But now you've got an opportunity, that window now to showcase that stuff, and it's all its glory is now in April. May.
There we go.
Thank you.
I think the one thing though is that it basically guarantees that we don't have a lot of that content until well into the second half of the year, and probably leaning more towards end of the third, fourth quarter. I mean, doesn't it kind of feel that way? If that's the strategy and you don't start announcing, you don't have to announce at Celebration. You can do other announcements and you get the excitement going at Celebration. But if you don't announce anything until end of May, then you are not releasing that content for 6 months. Because when we got the stuff we got from Mandalorian, it was still a year away, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
they could do a teaser trailer like between now and let's talk about that. So between now and Celebration, we could get a teaser trailer for Kenobi. Okay. We could get a teaser trailer for Andor. Maybe we get this BTS stuff and sizzle reels for some of the other things. And then when we come into Celebration, we're getting full on trailers and clips, right? Kind of like we did in Mandalorian. They showed us, I don't remember how many it was, 10 minutes of the first episode or something like that or whatever.
Yeah, a few minutes, yeah.
Yeah, but that'd be great, right? To be able to show some of that stuff. So yeah, I think there's still stuff they can do between now and Celebration without holding off on a formal trailer. um, that would make fans like us happy again.
Yeah, and again, we have had a lot of cool content that maybe we wouldn't have normally expected. We were not really super expecting a whole Boba Fett miniseries, right? That was a bit
Yeah.
of we knew there was things working, but to actually get it in the format that we're getting and the story aspect we're getting is pretty cool. So we're definitely got things that we maybe didn't expect that we were going to get back in 2019 and 2020. But I think at the same time, though, it's what's coming. And I think I sent you a text with a meme I'd found, or maybe it was just someone had posted on social media of like, just shut up and be happy reading your freaking books, like to Star Wars fans.
Right, yeah.
Like you've got all these books that are out there for the High Republic and comics and everything else. Just be happy with all your other content, and and stop whining and complaining about the
Yeah.
lack of like visual content on the TV or in the movie theater. So
That's fair. I read that and thought, okay, yeah, I probably should be happy with the
But
amount of
even
stuff we got.
still, but even if we
No,
look
I
at High
know, I
Republic,
know.
though, but even if we look at High Republic, there's been rumors that they want to bring High Republic to, to the small screen at the very least, right?
Right, yeah.
Not necessarily to a movie. I don't know if it's ready for movie stuff. I think Old Republic is probably a better fit for that one for right now. But still, the interest is there, it seems like. And I think it would do pretty well to see a lot of this stuff on screen, especially as we start getting into a second and third phase.
Phase, yeah.
We get some of this stuff behind us because I know there are, we've got a lot of supply problems, of course, across different things of like the world, not just the country, but books and comics in particular are having a hard time keeping up with release schedules because of paper and supply and shipping and all the other good things that we're all struggling with in other various ways. And so the point you were making earlier about, are we sticking to the schedule, in the right way and things like that? I think there's some of those things are starting to creep in too, of whether or not can we keep on the very regimented schedule that the High Republic has really set for itself, because it really is a fairly well-oiled machine of when they release these things. There's very little out of order
Mm-hmm.
or things get out of sequence very often. And so it's a very delicate kind of schedule to where you really you can't get too far off of that without creating ripples and having to adjust. But we've already seen that, right? We've seen some of the books change, we've seen the comics change, and we'll keep going from there. Now, the one thing I did want to come back to though is the format of Disney Plus Day and how they went about doing this.
Oh my goodness. Thank
Because
you. I forgot about that gripe
no,
session.
because this was a freaking mess, and it was. I got to be honest, it was awful. So if you didn't tune into Disney Plus Day in the past, what they've done is they released basically a YouTube video, right? They published a video. It was very well produced. Think about any other Apple event or Google event or other Disney events where they produce it. You had Kevin Feige talking. This is what they did last time. But this time, why don't you tell our dear listeners, if they weren't able to enjoy this fiasco, what exactly they missed out on?
Yeah, it was pulling up their Twitter feed, going to a single post, and then refreshing constantly all morning long for like 2 hours.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Thank you. I think
almost 3 hours of this mess.
It was madness. Like I don't understand. And the only thing I thought, I mean, I made this comment and I was joking, but there's part of me that feels like this is probably true. But like it's a form of narcissism. Not that Disney needs that, but if you want to trend on Twitter, then all you need to do is do something like this, because people are constantly, tagging and talking about it, and you're getting those tags, and so you move up on the charts. And I'm not saying that's the reason why they were doing it. I don't know why they did it this way. It was very frustrating. As somebody that enjoys Twitter, as someone that enjoys social media, I did not take any pleasure in this whatsoever. Like I would have rather they just did a video, right? Or had a better form, maybe on the dang TV. The show itself, like the channel itself. Right. I mean, I get it. People, not everybody's subscribing. And that's what they're trying to do is build up the hype. But releasing it on a single thread, and then, it wasn't even like new threads. It wasn't even like I could sign up for updates, right? I couldn't even set the alarm to go off every time they post, because it was just comments. So they would just keep tagging it under this thread. Yeah, it was just basically a reply-ish, right?
So if you subscribe to the thread, you're going to get everybody's comments, not just what else comes. It was just I just thought it was a disaster. I mean, and I think what was really disappointing about it, aside from just the way that they went about it, was that you didn't have any of the buildup as to like what the story was about, or it was just basically, a picture She-Hulk, or whatever it was. And then eventually later you'd get a link to some sort of short video or something like that, or it would leak later on YouTube or whatever it might have been. But there was like no cohesiveness to it. I mean, they were kind of bucketed. So Marvel was kind of together. Some of the Pixar stuff was together, I guess, but it just didn't feel like it had any cohesion to it. And it just didn't feel like there was any kind of, I mean, I'm just gonna say pride in their effort here. I mean, they just mailed it in. Like, okay, we're just gonna, instead of doing a whole video production, we're just gonna get what were they called? The intern to go ahead and sit at the Twitter account and just post this stuff,
Oh, I think
as
they were
he or
scheduled.
she. Oh, yeah, I'm sure it was scheduled, yeah, but they had the intern doing it overnight, the last second, because that's what we do with interns. But it was just crap. It was just crap. I'm sorry, it was just crap. It was
Yeah, I
so
wasn't a big fan of it.
irritating.
I really was not a big fan of it.
I
The
couldn't
other
believe it. I couldn't believe that that's what it was. I was like, "Okay, where's the video?" Like, I mean, maybe we're just conditioned to everything's a video, but man, I know you and I would rather have YouTube YouTube, watches rather than, retweets and everything,
Yeah.
but
Well, the problem was, okay, so one, I was in Twitter, I was having to refresh. Oh, big woe is me, kind of first world problems, right? But then I would have to like jump out and go into YouTube to go see something. And then the Kenobi trailer sizzle thing was actually on the channel. So I had to go back to that and watch that. So I mean, I just felt like I was kind of all over the place, bouncing around.
yeah.
And, again, to your point, they did block it up. But I mean, after the first hour, like I didn't know what to expect, right? But I had to sit through the first hour of refreshing all that stuff, and there wasn't anything Star Wars related. In fact, it ended with Chris Hemsworth in his TV show series after that first hour, and I thought, man, this is like the coup de grace for me. Like I was sitting here on bated breath, waiting for Star Wars content, and I got Chris Hemsworth dangling from a rope, which I'm not throwing shade at him. I actually
The
like Chris
show does
Hemsworth,
actually
but
kinda look cool, though.
okay, it does look cool, but
Yeah,
it's not what I was there for. You know what I mean? And I had no
exactly.
idea, no kind of time frame of when this was going to come out, or there was no schedule. I mean, it just felt like it was. I don't know. I hope they never do that again. To be honest.
I r I'm right there with you. It was not fun. And again, it just kept going and going and going, and then would be 10 or 15 minutes before anything else got released again. And it just it
Yeah,
just
they're
blew
letting it
my it
soak
just
in.
blew my mind. Yeah, it was like, it's just a soul-sucking
Sneakerella,
exercise.
Sneakerella. Hmm.
Sneakerilla. Is that like Vampirilla?
No, it's like Cinderella, but it's
Oh, yeah.
it's a dude and he's got sneakers and he loses a sneaker. It's a role reversal thing for storytelling. Yeah, I was
Wow,
looking forward to that
we
one.
are out of original ideas.
All right, can we start talking about what is it? This is a real.
Sure.
Let's do that. We're gonna get into this. I'm tired of complaining. It sucked. All right. Let's I just meant all right. Well, let's talk
No,
about this. So
go ahead.
this was announced in 2020 back in December. There was no change to it whatsoever. It is 100% the same thing they showed
Yeah, the exact
last
same
year.
quotes and everything.
So
Yeah.
right. So it opens with this, right? We were all familiar with this scene here, and it's Obi-Wan, the very end of Revenge of the Sith. And then from here, we get Ewan McGregor talking about how there's a big fan following. Yeah, we know that. It's obviously a thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done this TV series. We get Deborah Chow talk about. I think really the only thing to talk about here is kind of like this, the product. Like this is
Some of the concept
all,
art.
yeah, it's all concept art though. And again, I'm not. Again, I want to make one thing clear. Because I was already spoiled by this, it was really a big letdown. If this was my first time watching it, this was probably pretty exciting. Like it was exciting when I saw it for the first time, or at least when I read about it for the first time.
Right.
But this is actually first time seeing it legally. And there was this was exciting stuff. I mean, it's concept art, so it's hard to say whether or not this is what it's going to look like. I mean, how many times have we seen concept art for anything Star Wars, and it doesn't always pan out to be like that at all. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But what's interesting here is he's got, you see Obi-Wan here. He's got a gaffy stick here in the back. He looks a little older.
Yeah. He looks like the Sideshow toy, actually.
Maybe this is the that's right.
Maybe this
that's
is the
right.
Sideshow collectible toy concept art. I've got it right behind me, actually.
Yeah, he's got the. You should pull that out while you there. I'll keep talking here while you do that.
Right as I make a ton of noise.
Yeah, Jonesy is getting out of his chair now. He's moving his. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, the gaffy stick is there. I don't think it's like a Boba Fett thing. Like I don't see Obi-Wan befriending them in any way, and that would make absolutely no sense given that he scares them away with the whole crate dragon sound in episode 4. So I think he's been, I don't know why he has the gaffy stick. Maybe he's got a bantha that he's got to clean its teeth at some point. But I do like this look, and it is similar to So let me showcase you here. So let me showcase Jonesy. Boom. So yeah, that is such a great figure, man. So you can see there he's got Obi-Wan's, he's got his lightsaber, he's got Qui-Gon's lightsaber. He's got his armor. You get the little shoulder pad armor thing as well.
Yeah, he's got basically like a moisture evaporator, like temporary backpack.
No,
I don't have it out of the case. It's actually in this box right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. That's the
goggles
mythos,
and everything else. But yeah,
right?
He comes with a gaffy stick as well as a rifle, like we've seen the Tuskens use as well.
A Tusken sniper rifle.
Yep.
So I don't think in my opinion, I don't think he's befriended them. I think he's really he's probably got these things because they're weapons and he has them. Let me let me add this back to the stream. There we go. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is the same. What do they call these things?
Aopi?
Aopis? Yopis? Yeah, whatever it is. Maybe this is the same one that he's had. Wouldn't that be cute if he's kind of been riding around this thing and it dies in this series?
That would be sad.
It would be sad, but it would be cool too.
Right.
Let me get a close up there on him. He looks a little older than I would expect him to look, but again, it's concept art, so who knows?
Yeah, we don't have an exact timeline though, do we?
It's 10 years.
10 years, okay.
10 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, well, no, that's
about right.
Yeah, I mean the Tatooine sun's pretty rough.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Look what happened to the Lars.
But yeah, this is where we get some of the exciting stuff though, is that we are not on Tatooine, baby.
Nope. And I mean the big question, right? So for anybody that doesn't know, Obi-Wan is on Tatooine because he thinks that Luke Skywalker is the chosen one, and it's his mission to sit there and guard this kid. You and I talked about this 2 years ago about this, maybe right. About whether or not he would leave or whether he would leave the planet. And I think to kind of summarize where we landed is, one, I didn't want to see him on Tatooine. I just didn't feel like that was going to be a really compelling story. But that aside, the only reason Obi-Wan he'd have to have a really darn good reason to leave Tatooine.
Right. And
I'm still I've got theories about why he would leave Tatooine. But do you think, let me just ask you this. Do you think he's going to just leave Tatooine and hope that Luke is safe and not have to worry about that? Or do you think there's going to be something more than that?
I'm with you. I think he has to leave Tatooine to throw Vader off his scent. And I think that's about the most compelling reason why Obi-Wan would leave. If Vader or the Empire, but primarily Vader. And we do have a visual here that could lend a little bit of credibility to that as well. That if Vader is still on the hunt for Obi-Wan, which we have every reason to believe that he is, at least even though he's been told not to, or that he's been relieved of duty by the Emperor and some of the comics, which are canon. Whether or not that means a whole lot at this point is remains to be seen. But I could see where he would leave Tatooine and leave Luke on Tatooine in order to try to throw that scent off and to distract him away from going back to Tatooine, which we know Vader doesn't want to anyway. That's the whole point why they're there, I guess. But at the same time, if you want to keep him away, and specifically, you start leaving carrots and breadcrumbs elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, here, I'll save it because we're going to get to. I know what you're talking about here in a little bit. That the image. Okay, so let's talk about this one here. They're
underwater.
Yes.
Yeah. They're
underwater. I know a number of people have said this is from Fallen Order. This is the what is it? I forget now. The Imperium. What the heck's it called? Where the Alkalites went when they weren't out on roaming around on Coruscant or anywhere else. This is where they went. I forget the damn stupid thing. So if you played the game, this is a part of the game here.
Okay.
That makes the most sense. And part of it is, some of it is underwater. Like a lot of it's actually underwater. So this makes sense if it is. It'd be really cool because it'd be a way to tie in the Fallen Order. We know there are some Sith Inquisitors that are out here.
Right.
We're going to see that here in a little bit. So this all kind of lines up. Apart from this, I don't know what else this could even be. It doesn't look like Coruscant. It doesn't look like the Jedi Temple because of the blue water and what look like fish out there.
But it still does look like stone outside those windows. It's very interesting, the design elements. It's a very imperial facility on the inside where we have all these stormtroopers. But as soon as you look through that window, you really does look like you have this stone outside as you get into the very aqua waters, and you can see some fish floating around there in the background.
Yeah.
So it's a very visually appealing piece of art.
I was trying to find the dang name of that thing. I should have done some research on that. I forget now, but nonetheless, it was. If this looks like that exact thing from Fallen Order. Excuse me. But yeah, this is cool. I mean, lots of stormtroopers. You know.
Yeah.
Beyond that, really not a whole lot there. Now, do you think he's going to go here though, or do you think this is just showing you like this is when they're cutting over to showing the brother, sister, whatever Inquisitors? This is just one of those setting shots that they do, establishing shots to kind of tell you, oh, this is where we are.
Well, I think that's the interesting part, and one of the questions that keeps coming up about the series is going to be called Obi-Wan Kenobi, but do we get perspectives of the Inquisitors? Is it really focused on Obi-Wan and what happens in and around him, or are we going to get pulled away from that and get perspectives and get the hunt from the other side of things as well, and not just Obi-Wan's perspective on all of this stuff?
Right.
And it definitely looks like we are going to get that, but this image here is very, very interesting as well, because this clearly looks like it's on Tatooine. We've got a Sith-inspired ship of sorts, and it looks like an Inquisitor with a couple of stormtroopers coming out of the landing ramp.
Yeah, yeah, and this does look like the model from what is it? Fallen Order, the second sister.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of the Elder a little bit too.
Oh, the Elder
from Visions.
Right. Yeah,
a little bit.
The ship.
Wings.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
These are like some folding wings, I think it looks like.
Yeah. So
kind of like Kylo Ren's.
The problem, no, yeah, actually more First Order. Yeah, I can see that. Looks a little bit more First Order or the Knights of Ren kind of.
Yeah, that matte black with some red on the inside. It's very ominous. I mean, it's art, but clearly they've got moisture evaporators and they've got the little domes and everything too. So the concept art is in Tunisia again.
Yeah, I mean, it's so. I'm trying to wrap my head around where the story is going to go now based on all this stuff, but I don't think this is the second sister unless they're going to make changes to Fallen Order. I mean, they could override that. What's that?
I think we're gonna get some new Inquisitors.
Yeah, probably that would be my guess. Where they just do away with what happened in the Fallen Order, which they've done away with other stuff that wasn't movies or TV, right? With Ahsoka.
It would be kind of cool though, is if we got the Grand Inquisitor to make an appearance in this that we got from Rebels. That'd be really cool to see him creep up, kind of making his way through the ranks a bit.
Yeah, no, that'd be great too. But this definitely looks like a female based on the way it looks, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Very slender.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm with you, man. This feels like it's on Tatooine. So I don't know, that drives a stake in a lot of my theories, to be honest. But I do like the ship here. And then we got more footage here of all that. Yeah, and this is where she says, "Hey, but we're going to go somewhere." Deborah Chow says, at this point, she's talking about we're going to have to leave Tatooine, right? Or we're leaving Tatooine. And so they show this first image here of what looks like a city, like a busy, I wouldn't say a big cityscape, but I mean, there's really nothing in the background. This isn't like a Coruscant or anything like this. There's a lot of stonework. It looks like something we've never seen before in Star Wars.
Yeah, it has kind of that street vendor type of feel. Like if you go into
like a market,
like a market, like Asian type of town, like you see in movies, or if you live in one of the big cities, we have a lot of those around here.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of have that feel, right? Very much of a marketplace and almost Corellian inspired, but of course this has much more rounded aspects to it, a very different design language than we've seen elsewhere, but pretty interesting here though.
Yeah, it's definitely a different place, right? It's not Tatooine. It's not the place we were just talking about. It's not this place here, which definitely looks like a Coruscant, Nar Shaddaa, very busy market, very big city. You can see the big skyscrapers here in the background. So yeah, this is a different location altogether.
Right.
I don't know. There's really not a whole lot in this one.
You can't really tell what species or anything, or they've got these cloaks around them. It looks like we have a Jawa here in the forefront on the bottom left. But aside from that, yeah, we got some cloaks. Difficult to see what else is going on there, though. Again, this is more of a marketplace type of thing, though.
Yeah.
But this one's a bit interesting here.
Yeah, this is like, I mean, they're showing snow speeders.
Very well, and that's an ice cave. It's very reminiscent of Hoth. But again, they're not on Hoth at this point.
Do you think that's ice though? Because remember, like the snow speeders were not made. I mean, so the snow. Well, I may be getting this completely wrong, and I may be waxing some legend stuff here or remembering legends, but like the snow speeders really weren't made just for snow, right? They were a speeder that was repurposed for. It was one of the ones that could hold up in the Hoth environments, cold environments like that, but they were used in other environments as well, so they weren't necessarily specific to it. I mean, you could have it flying around on Tatooine or some other place.
Yeah, you're right. They were not actually called snow speeders. That was just the marketing. They're actually just a speeder. Yeah. But it does look. I mean, it does look snow, and it has the same design though, right? You have the cables that we saw on Hoth, and some of that. But again, they don't appear to be dressed for warmth.
There's a gonk droid.
It is very bright. Yeah, there's a gonk droid. Wait,
that's
so how
true.
many gonk droids tall is it, Albert? Oh, that's a Patreon joke. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a Patreon joke.
There's the gonk droid.
He still clicks. Yeah, he still clicks. Yeah, exactly. You made it. No, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. They're not dressed like they're wearing like fur coats and all that. In fact, it's completely open right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but again, I think the questions that start to come out though is, okay, we're seeing the rebellion.
Yeah. No.
Most likely. Right. So what's Obi-Wan's interaction with what's his relationship with the rebellion at this standpoint? Is it something where he's actually in contact with Bail Organa? And because we're definitely given, so it's actually very fitting you bring up Rogue One, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of that dialogue is there, of what they want to reach out to his friend, to Bail's friend when he's talking with Mon Mothma, and of course, alluding to Leia's the one that he would trust with his life. But so is this, have they actually been in contact? And if so, what has that actually looked like? And maybe this is a bit of a bridge into that gap of what we're not sure about right now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. If he's been talking to them and we're going to get some of that, this is probably the scene that connects those two in some way.
Right. And it's not necessarily the scene specifically, right? It's interesting. There's some like smoke and stuff that they've done, visually with this, but it's not always so much the scene, but it's the storytelling aspect behind why they would draw the concept art in the first place. Right.
Right. Yep. Yeah. There's that. They're saying the Rebel Alliance is going to be in this in some way. So naturally you're going to be drawn to Bail Organa, and likely that whole relationship, you're going to see some insight into how they stayed in contact and all of that. This is where they announced Hayden Christensen's coming back and to play Darth Vader. This is really good stuff. So we got a shot here of Vader sitting. Looks like he's definitely on Mustafar. Mm-hmm. That would be my guess. What about you?
Yep, that's my guess as well.
The throne looks very similar to the concept art in Return of the Jedi. It looks like the throne from Snoke. It looks like it almost looks, it's like a shadow of like the Mustafar temple itself. But he's sitting there looking at some kind of a hologram.
Yeah, image. And I think they have a closer up image of this too.
Right here.
And it kind of looks like it might be Obi-Wan.
I think it is.
And he's just sitting here brooding and obsessing over it.
I think so. I mean, that's definitely Mustafar. You can see it in the background there now too.
Yeah, you get the red landscape.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, if he knows that Obi-Wan's out there, okay, this is where I want to kind of talk about speculation. So Vader does not know. He knows nothing about Luke at all. He knows nothing about Luke. He knows nothing about Leia. So on one hand, I don't feel like Obi-Wan would just pick up and leave and trust in the Force that Luke's going to be okay. However, it's not a bad strategy, because if he's found to be on Tatooine, and I'll poke a hole in this theory in just a second. But if he's found to be on Tatooine because the Inquisitors found him or something, somehow he gets noticed. It would make sense for him to just say, you know what, I can't be here right now. Either I need to go on the other side of Tatooine, or I got to get off this planet because being here now is putting Luke at risk, and I can't allow that to happen. So there is a likely scenario that he could just leave and take off, to, like you said, to kind of pull them away from Tatooine, draw their scent somewhere else, and which would take them off and do all kinds of other stuff. The only problem that I have with that theory is Vader would not, like, if he went back and presumably he's going to get away, right? Vader lives, Obi-Wan lives. They have this duel again that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. And he goes back on the hunt for Obi-Wan. So either he thinks that Obi-Wan is dead, or he's just too dumb to go back to the planet that he found him on originally, right? I mean, it's got to be one of those scenarios. And I just don't think it's going to be the latter. So I do have a feeling that at some point, he's going to think Obi-Wan is dead, which maybe that plays into this whole, him stepping on the robes at the end of or after their battle in episode 4, because he doesn't trust the fact that, okay, I've seen him, quote, die before. I don't trust that he's really dead. So I'm going to step on these robes to make sure there's no, some Jedi mind or some Jedi trick that he's come up with or whatever. But
that would be really cool if there was some connection with that to explain why he felt that was necessary.
Right, to tap on the robes like that.
Right. Yeah, because clearly he wasn't down there. He didn't make himself into a baby. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But I like that though, and I think there's a lot of credibility though that Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine and then making sure that Vader could feel his presence in order to draw him away makes a lot of sense, to make sure that there is absolutely no way he can come across Luke. Because, and this is also another aspect of the show we might be able to see, is that we know that the Empire was hunting for Force-sensitive children, right? And so this is another aspect of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the show, that might begin to be explored a little bit more too, of what that was, what they were doing. And maybe that's why the Inquisitor is on Tatooine. And it's one of those aspects that there's a feeling, and presumably there is, at least some sort of feeling that that Palpatine could reach out and feel with Luke or Leia or whomever. And again, Force sensitive children are all over the place, right? They're not super special in that regard, to where you're going to find 1 out of a billion or something like that. They still exist, but are we going to get a little bit more of that idea and a little more explanation as to what they're looking for and what they're looking to do with them at such a young age, even though we've got some of that already explored in comic books and some of that as well. But yeah, I think it would explain some of the concepts that we're seeing here, and it would make a lot of sense. And whether or not Vader believes he's dead, I think you could look at the dialogue from A New Hope, and you could definitely toggle that a couple of different ways, especially between him and Tarkin, right?
Yep. We get going on with this footage here.
Yeah,
We get I saw Ewan in the back here in the black. Someone was pointing out this guy. That doesn't look like Ewan McGregor to me at all.
That's Ewan McGregor Ewan's got the big tattoo on his shoulder.
Oh man, that's not Ewan McGregor. I'm talking about, this is Ewan McGregor here.
Yeah.
But I'm saying back here, Hayden Christensen.
Oh, I don't think that's him.
I think it's him. Right there, look. You see the mask? And then he's got like a ponytail?
I mean, no.
Okay. Well, you're wrong. What I was saying is somebody thought this guy was Hayden Christensen.
Oh,
I'm like, that guy's not Hayden Christensen. Look at that. He's like 4'5". He's like shorter than I am. Okay. But this is the reason I say I think that's Hayden Christensen, because it is right here that they're talking about joining Hayden Christensen joining again or whatever. We're going to get the fight again. He makes some comment about them dueling.
They just wipe at each other. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get this shot here of the lightsabers being crossed. I know there's been a lot of speculation already about where this is. Again, this is concept art, so it's really hard to say. I personally do not think this is Mustafar. What do you think?
It's a lot of brimstone and fire, man. So where else would it be?
I mean, I think it's a facility or something of some sort. Like, why
Yeah,
would
and
they? Why
but
would they
I
fight
will
on
say this
Mustafar?
though. I'm sorry to interrupt. I will say
No,
this
it's
though.
fine.
This is with this video, they could be layering multiple things though, right? Because clearly they are bringing in various parts of this of the drawing altogether. So it's unclear whether or not this is layered imagery, not necessarily one piece of art. This might be multiple things that they've done here.
That's possible. Yeah. So the reason I say it's not Mustafar is because look at the structure here in the background. Unless they're introducing a part of Mustafar we're not familiar with, which is possible because we haven't seen everything.
Right.
This architecture is very unique and it's not something we've seen before. And it is the same picture. Like if I go back to the zoom in on the left hand side here, you see this little white dome looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When we go back to this one, it's there again. But this spire is not something we've seen on Mustafar before. That's all I'm saying.
Right. It could be an Imperial facility that's just on fire.
Well, and I made the joke that it is an Imperial facility because there's no freaking handrails here.
No
and there's
handrails.
something about no handrails that's just a part of their policy. Guys never heard of OSHA. But yeah, so I am.
The
I
Emperor
don't know.
extinguished OSHA at the same time he did the
Right,
Senate.
Yeah, we're getting away with all these stupid rules.
That's right.
But I mean, I wouldn't be upset if it was Mustafar, but it just feels like, okay, we're back at Mustafar again. And there's probably something to be said about, oh, they have another duel where they had their first duel kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't know. How does he get off Mustafar? That's the thing. It's not like he can just slip away and disappear. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's going to have to get away. We know that. So,
But you're right, though. I mean, you were onto something before that it feels like Vader is going to have to believe that Obi-Wan is dead.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's not actively hunting for him at some point. And it just seems like he's going to have to act like he killed him in some way. But how did he do it? That's going to be interesting. How many episodes is this series going to be? Do we have confirmation of that?
I think it's like
4
either
or
6.
5?
No, I think it's like
6.
6.
6? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's 8.
Yeah, I don't think it's 8
it's
either.
6.
Okay.
Here I want to ask you a question because this has been a lot. There's been a lot of chatter this week, unfortunately, about the you think about, you see this scene, you think when I last met you, I was but the learner, now I am the master, only a master of evil, Darth.
Right.
There seems to be a whole side of fandom that feels like it's going to pull away at that line, and it throws that line, like this flies in the face of that line. And then you got the other half that looks at it in the completely opposite and says, okay, no, that reinforces that line. Right. And I don't really have a strong preference one way or the other. I'm of the opinion that it reinforces that line, that in somewhere in here, and you can call it campy, you can call it cheesy, whatever, they're going to have a conversation about master and a learner or something, right? To kind of tie it directly. I mean, it might be in your face and on your nose, but it feels like there's something going to be taught here, like a lesson will be taught, and that is going to reference that. It may also reference, that whole scene. We talked about this when we had Josh on for a certain point of view, when we were talking about that scene in Return of the Jedi where he said, Obi once thought as you.
Right.
And he says that in response to Luke trying to tell him to let go and to come back to the light, right? And how poignant would it be for them to be battling, and at the same time, Obi-Wan's thinking, okay, I'm battling him again, but this time I'm not trying to kill him. Like I've already done some really horrible things to him. I need to bring him back to light. I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to try a different approach with him, even if he is coming at me with his lightsaber, and he's really the entire time trying to pull him back to the light. And maybe make some progress. Maybe it does get under his skin a little bit, and he has a moment of doubt about whether or not this has all really been worth it, given what he's like now, and where he's basically just some slave of the Emperor. I mean, he's pathetic now
Right.
under the Emperor. And so that would tie into that scene for Return of the Jedi. So I think there's a lot of good that can come from the scene. I think there's a lot of good that can come from the dialogue that can reinforce that scene as well as the one in Return of the Jedi. I just don't like everybody piling on saying that it's going to somehow ruin episode 4. I don't think it ruins episode 4, that battle, in any way, to be honest.
I don't think so either. And actually, if I look at Revenge of the Sith and episode 4, those scenes never really feel like they never really felt like they were all that coherent, or they didn't really match up very well together in the first place, because it was a very intense, it was very emotional. It was Anakin's arrogance or I guess Vader at the time, arrogance trying to get the better of him, thinking he was all powerful. Now, granted, those things work within the dialogue we got in episode 4, But again, it just never really felt like it really matched up exactly. And so I'm okay. And actually, I'm interested of them cleaning that aspect of it up, and that the dialogue that we would get here and whatever that confrontation looks like. And I'm with you. I think Obi-Wan is still not necessarily ready to give up on Anakin in some ways. Although I think with the younglings and stuff like that, I think it's very much I mean, he's got to be realistic on some of this stuff. And if it's
Mhm.
been 10 years, then a lot of things have gone
Yeah,
on since then,
statute of
right?
limitations, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
come on.
But still, I do like the idea though that there was still hope for Obi-Wan in Anakin, that he can do something, and it still does bother him at least a little bit, him being Vader, that it that is what draws more connected tissue to A New Hope, both with that comment as well as the dialogue he has with Tarkin. Right. I haven't, or what he says in general. I haven't felt his presence since, and he trails off, the
Yeah.
presence of his old master, and whether he must be dead by now. But clearly, there was something of note in that respect. And this is where I kind of draw a lot of that inspiration from, of where he's chasing Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan is leaving all these red herrings about where he's been, and why it makes sense for him to get off of Tatooine. Is that this presence is what he feels, and then all of a sudden he thinks Obi-Wan is dead, and and then his basically he's been snuffed out of the universe, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I actually, yeah, I didn't think about that either. But that line of a presence I've not felt since, and he just
yeah,
kind of leaves it, trails off.
because they just don't
Um,
connect really, really cleanly to Revenge of the Sith in that kind of way, and that more, oh man, what's the right word? But this more kind of ethereal type of way,
yeah.
that we would expect Force users to be able to sense and interact with one another.
So from the High Republic, we've learned a couple things, right?
Mhm.
The Jedi can put their signal out there, right? They can turn it, and they can turn it off as well.
Right,
So in my mind, if they go back to this, okay, so if you didn't have this and you just went on to the prequels, when he says the line, "A presence I haven't felt since," then you're only left to believe that when they were together as master and apprentice, and all through the Clone Wars, and up until the Revenge of the Sith, that he just could feel his presence whenever he was around, and that's fine, that's fair. But now that we've got all these new, I wouldn't say new, or updated ways that they can signal their presence, then you would think that Kenobi, like what you were saying, just to kind of rehash that, but what Kenobi's doing is he's signaling to Vader, "I'm here, I'm near, come follow me, come chase me,"
right,
and he feels that, right? And then when he gets to the Death Star in Episode 4, he does the same thing. He turns on his presence for Vader to know that he's there, because it's all part of the plan, right? And eventually it's going to be for him to kind of pass on and be more powerful than he ever possibly could imagine, right? So
well, and again, to distract Vader from what he wants Vader to be preoccupied, while even though Vader knows better that he's going to be, he's there to get the princess and all of
yes,
that,
yes, yes.
but he knows he's obsessed. So
Right.
yeah,
He's trying to buy them time, and again pull his scent so that he's not following these guys that are trying to
yeah.
get off there with the plans.
And again, yeah, I think this is where this can all make a lot more sense of all of that. I completely agree. I think we're on the same page there.
Yeah. And then they did.
Ewan does seem to be having a great time with this, though. You can
He
tell how
does.
much
Look
he
how
does.
cheeky he is.
He is. Yeah.
Smirking.
You can just tell how much he loves the character of Obi-Wan, and how excited he feeds off the energy from the fans too, of all of the excitement that is generated.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he really does have a great friendship with Hayden Christensen.
They did something funny here. They like tried to they couldn't show us them fighting, so they took the footage of Obi-Wan pulling back his lightsaber,
Yeah.
cut to Vader in Empire Strikes Back, had them both ignite their blades, and then cut to Empire Strikes Back again, where you've got Luke fighting Vader to kind of make you feel, and then like I
Yeah.
don't know, it's kind of silly. But then they cut over to him there. Yeah, whatever.
Well, I do like how when they when they're showing uh, Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan, and Empire Vader, he still has the high ground. you know,
Right. Yep.
Vader is still looking up at him as he
He is
begins to
looking
get
up,
the high ground.
like
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, it's just insult to injury.
Right. And we know Vader's looking at Luke Skywalker, who's dangling from
Right.
the pipes there, or whatever it was.
Impressive.
Most impressive. So
I
yeah,
do like the sand kind of blowing.
the sand in the eye is his lightsaber.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
subtle.
that's clever. Yeah, look at that.
Well, they
It
shaped
made
the other eye. They shaped the first eye. Eye
just
is in the letter
regular.
I, in the same way. So
Well,
yeah, if you,
the first eye is just an eye.
it's an eye for an eye. No, it is just an eye, but I'm saying it's like the shape, right? I mean, look, it looks
Yeah.
like the top, the way they did that font looks like the top of his lightsaber as well.
Yeah, no, that's a cool effect. I didn't notice that.
And then we get the Sands of Tatooine. So,
So
which I think
streaming.
I think we're gonna spend some time on Tatooine. I really do. I just,
Oh, we want to, right? I
well,
mean,
yeah, I mean,
we
we have to.
want to see. Well, we want to see what his adaptation has looked like. We want to see what. I mean, we want to see if his schedule is any more busy than Luke
Yeah,
Skywalker's
I've
was.
seen I've seen your routine. You're not
Right.
busy.
Right. So I think there's a certain amount of interest there. There's interest with the Raiders, with the Tuscans, and there's other things about this. Some of it's like, okay, where are all the things we need to know, and do we have enough time in 6 episodes to be able to explore all the things in as much detail, not knowing how long the episodes will be, presumably probably in this 42 to 45-minute range. But I think there's a number of things that we want to get from this series, and one thing you can't really question though is that the passion that they're going to put into this. And I like listening to Deborah Chow talk about the show because she just kind of gets Star Wars. She just kind of gets the characters, and she just has this very quiet confidence about her too, about what it is that they want to put forward and what people want to see, and the story will drive it. And the story is already built in. You just gotta pull it out. You just gotta coax it out of the people who play the parts. And I think even, we haven't really talked about, hey, are they going to go talk to George? Are they going to do all this other stuff? And you don't really have to go talk to George. He's said a lot about this stuff over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're in good hands, though. I like this. I'm glad they let us finally watch this because I think it is great to hear Ewan's enthusiasm rather than just reading the text in the articles that were posted last year, where they were again the exact same quotes, so it was exact same sizzle reel. But it is something to see Ewan's eyes, and hear that enthusiasm, and to hear Deborah Chow talk about it. I think those things add a lot of elements to it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Again, this is exciting stuff. Even if it was
1 minute
dated and all
and
that,
1 minute long.
and 1 minute long, it was something, right? And we haven't had anything yet, so it was good
Right.
and good to see Ewan McGregor.
Ewan. Yep.
Ewan. Okay, let's wrap this up. Final thoughts on here. I know you had you threw a question out there about whether or not we would see anything from Book of Boba Fett before it premieres in late December. I think we are. I mean, I think we'll get another trailer of some sort.
Sure.
It makes sense that they would do something like that. Again, why they wouldn't do that on Disney Plus Day, this is just bizarre.
Or why they didn't wait until Disney Plus Day to do it instead.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I
we're
was thinking that too.
Yeah, we're 6 weeks out from Book of Boba, so presumably we're going to get something here in about 2 weeks. When we get right to that month, when you get to this 4 to 6 weeks before a release, usually that's when you step up the marketing campaign. So we know that the subscriber numbers for Disney Plus were not what investors wanted, and they were much slower growth than I think Disney had already started to put some of these out there to the environment, but the numbers were slower than what they were wanting and what they were hoping for. And so I do believe that we are going to get the hype train going, and they're going to be pushing Disney Plus really hard, not just for Book of Boba, but I think just across all of the IPs that they have, in particular Marvel, of course, and some of the new Disney animation and all the other things that they've got going on, as well as the live action. I mean, the Jeff Goldblum and that kind of stuff. I've heard great things. I've not watched any of it, but
Yeah,
so I think we are going to see a push. But Book of Boba probably another couple weeks away before the media blitz really starts to really start to take hold and take shape.
Yeah. I don't agree. I don't disagree. Sorry.
That's fine. You don't have to agree with me either.
I don't agree with you either on that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We can just leave it there. I mean, it's again, it was disappointing. Cool that we got at least something from Kenobi. Fortunately, didn't get a whole lot. My only hope at this point is that things aren't going to get delayed and canceled and moved to 2023. I would hate that. And my other hope is that we'll at least get some of what we thought we would get and more come celebration time in May, because I think that would be obviously the best place to do all of that. And should we get something before that? Great. Do I think we probably would? Yeah, we may get something before that. Rob had mentioned the Super Bowl. I think that's, we talk about that every year about something being released in the Super Bowl. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But
And
I
again,
don't know.
the weird one this year is, Super Bowl's in February, right? And Celebration is 3 months after that. And are you gonna just keep a lot of things in your hip pockets that aren't coming right away? And like I said, I don't know that we're gonna get a lot of video after Book of Boba. I don't know we've got a lot of video stuff coming until second half of the year and maybe towards the later end of it. So we might hit a bit of a dry spell here as far as what do we hear from Disney Plus and what do we hear on the movie front and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm with you. The more I thought about it, yeah, it just makes too much sense for them to. That's actually a great question. So Kota Motorola, that's a fun name. Do you think James Earl Jones will be voicing Darth Vader in the Kenobi series? And actually, I thought about this and I meant to write it down. I didn't. So I'm glad he or she brings this up. What do you think? Is James Earl Jones coming back? His voice
Oh,
is getting a bit old sounding.
it is sounding a little
It makes me
rough.
sad to say that.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer your question with a question, but I will answer your question. The question I also have is, are we going to see Hayden Christensen without his helmet? Because he's in there and we
Yeah.
know he's in there, but, we know he can't be without his helmet for very long because he'll die. So how and when would we see him, right? Is it going to be one of these moments where he's sitting there, maybe it's in that moment, like, let's just use that concept art as an example, right? He's sitting there steaming over the fact that Obi-Wan's still alive, thinking about it, and maybe he takes his helmet off, and at some point when he's going into the chamber and he's just sitting there and he's thinking about Padme and everything that's going on. I mean, we could see that. I think it's probably likely, though, to answer the question, I think we probably are going to get a James Earl Jones voice. I don't see how you could not, right? You're not going to get Hayden Christensen to do James Earl Jones. Whether James Earl Jones comes back or not, I know there's somebody who does his voice really well now. I forget who it is. But they could bring somebody in to do the voice. But I think if we're going to have Vader in his helmet, you're going to get that voice. And I don't think it's going to be Hayden Christensen. Where I think we will get Hayden Christensen is maybe on some kind of a flashback scene, or, some, maybe he's thinking back on moments right after, I don't know, I'm making stuff up now, Revenge of the Sith there, when right after all of that happened, or we see maybe this series is as much about Kenobi as it is about Anakin Skywalker and what he's been through, and what his life is like and how pathetic it is. I mean, we all know that because we read the books and we read the comics and we see it. But this is be a big eye opener for a lot of people that are not really into Star Wars, who think that he's been living this charmed life after being, more machine than man, and being, the nefarious Darth Vader. It ain't all glory at all. I mean, he's had a crappy life. I almost said something else, but yeah, he's had a pretty rough life. So being able to show some of that, I just don't know how much they're going to be able to show without that helmet, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to see flashbacks of Anakin because honestly, we've got the movies, and we've got Clone Wars. We've got all this content where we don't need to see Anakin before Vader. Now, where I think there's 3 scenarios where we see his face. I think if he's in his chamber, his meditation chamber, because we
Yeah.
know he can survive inside of the chamber. If he's in the back to tank, I think like we saw in Rogue One,
Yeah.
which I think would be a great up close and just again very, you don't see all the nastiness, but you get real close up and you see that. And then also I think battle damage, right? We've seen a ton of games and a kind of ton of comics of Vader getting his butt kicked and pieces of the helmet getting, chopped off. We saw this in Rebels when he was fighting Ahsoka.
Yeah, Twilight of the Apprentice.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen it countless other times where he's just got his butt handed to him. And I think this is one of those times where I think we could see that. And I think for Obi-Wan, that is a very important moment for us to have. Much like it was for Ahsoka with Vader and Anakin, right?
Mm-hmm.
It means something different whenever you can look into someone's eyes. And when you can look into someone's eyes, you can hear their voice, and their voice is the one that comes out more so than the electronic voice of the modulator. Those are the things that really have a lot of power to them, and it can have a lot of lasting impact, I think, on the audience. And I think that's going to be really important for us to see. So I think it's almost a guarantee that we'll have some sort of situation where we have that. But I think it is, we do see him otherwise, because I think it's just too interesting not to, and for makeup and that type of thing. I think it's just a great opportunity for us to see some of that if the concept art there is leading us to believe that we will have alone time with Darth Vader.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
I like the back to tank.
Yeah, but so yeah, James Earl Jones though, we love James Earl Jones. He is Darth Vader. His voice is feeling a little bit old. I think this is a great opportunity though to bring in either a voice that's already been established that does Vader really well, or to start finding the next voice of Darth Vader,
Right.
right? And commit to a long term. This is who Darth Vader will sound like, and he sounds very much like James Earl Jones, but he's a little bit different. And it's not that crap we get in the video games most of the time, which are absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
No. I'm with
Because a
you.
lot of the video game adaptations have been absolutely abysmal. And that's no shame on those voice actors or anything like that, because they're in a really tough spot of trying to mimic one of the most famous and amazing voices of all time. Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Yeah. No. With James Earl Jones's voice, just as kind of a relevant recent topic. When I went and saw Rogue One, it stood out to me.
yeah,
Like I
you
mean,
can tell it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it stood out when I watched the originals, but when he gets up there and he's talking to Krennic, it does not sound the same. Like it, and you go back and you watch episode 4, he's just got, it's not as deep, which is probably part of his aging, right? But then he's just got more vigor in his voice,
Yeah.
as a younger Vader, and especially when you get to like Empire Strikes Back, you compare the way he speaks in Empire Strikes Back and episode 4 to how he speaks in Rogue One, and it's noticeable. So
Yeah, and
I'd like to see somebody else kind of step
and
in
you even
and do it.
started to get a sense of that in Revenge of the Sith too, right? I mean,
Yeah,
back in
right.
2005, you started to notice the change because it had been 20 years. Was it 20 years? Yeah,
Yeah,
it had
yeah.
been 20
Well,
years. Yeah, 22 years, I think. So since we had heard it on the in the movies, and so it's again, it's just life. This is unfortunately we all get old and things change about us in a lot of different ways, and it sucks. But at the same time, I think this is a great opportunity for us to bring it. And what actually would be really cool is if you could somehow blend, some of that. You take James Earl Jones now, but you also have another, person, and then somehow you merge some of that, or maybe it's even Hayden. I don't know if that's reasonable, but you know, it, but you can't get away from James Earl Jones. I think or at least with the style of Darth Vader's voice.
yeah,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
you still have to stay true to the character.
yep.
But yeah,
Well, that's a good question.
yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. That's a great point.
Okay, well, we'll end it there. Thanks to everybody that came out. We had a lot of our regulars, hard counted, Rob, Steph, Coda, who came in there at the end. Risk,
Cole. Yep.
yep, and
Yeah.
Chef Chris.
Yep. And the people lurking in the background, we appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yeah, I saw
And
you Twitch people on there. Like, no, they can't comment though, unfortunately.
right, yeah,
It's only-
neither can Twitter. Yeah,
so, but we do appreciate you guys joining.
that's fine. We're just going to release this episode on Twitter in about 7,000 tweets, just one at a time
That would
in
be
the
fun.
same thread. So Cantina Cast will be trending here shortly.
Well, let's not go that far. All right. Well, we've also got so we'll do the Patreon show here, like I said, in a couple days, or probably tomorrow if we can get it knocked out. If not, it'll be Tuesday night, and we'll take a look back at the Under the Helmet documentary that's out on Disney Plus, and kind of talk about what stood out for us there. Definitely some new stuff that we saw that I had never seen before. Really cool stuff. So looking forward to talking about that one a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we leave, I got one final question for you, just really quickly.
All right.
Hayden Christensen, if they show him, do we get the yellow eyes or do we get regular eyes?
Yellow eyes all the way.
Yellow eyes all the way.
Well, actually, I think both. I think we're going to get like we did in Twilight the Apprentice. I think we're
so?
going to get that. Yeah, we're going to get that weird blend.
I would
and
love to
mix.
see if we got that blend, or like Ahsoka sees his real eyes at the very end. But what if Kenobi got to see those as well? So
Yeah.
would be cool. Okay. All right. Anything else before we get out of here?
I think that's it, my friends. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and tuning in and for downloading the episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next week.
Yeah. We'll see you then.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.